Hi there and welcome to my video today. I am excited to be back with another mixed media piece for you to follow along with. Today I'm going to try some new things. I'm going to use clear gesso, which I haven't really played with before. And I'm also going to use my jelly plate and all these kind of fun scraps that I've made from my jelly plate. I do have those Artex paint markers and my Derwent Inktense pencils. They're a lot of fun to use, and I am using my 200-pound paper with some satin medium to put the papers down first. So this is what I normally do to start off, is just put down some papers and get rid of that blank page, which can kind of be off-putting in the beginning. But I'm not really thinking too much about the colors. I just kind of picked papers that appealed to me. And that's how I always start. I don't really have a direction in the beginning. I just kind of follow my gut and try to figure out what papers are calling me, and then I just play and figure it out as I go. I know a lot of people like to have a framework before they start, but I find a lot of times some of my best work happens when I'm just kind of having fun with the process and not thinking too hard about how it's going to turn out. Because there are so many different materials that we can use that will cover things up in the end if you really don't like it. So I don't get too precious with the colors or the prints because you can always put a layer of acrylic paint on top and it will disappear. So these are all jelly prints that I made on my jelly plate. I'll put a little video up in the corner to show you how to do that if you're not familiar with the jelly plate. It's a lot of fun to use, and it's really empowering to be able to make your own papers because you can use the colors that you like and the designs you like. It's a lot of fun. So I just put a first layer of paper down, and I'm putting these weights on top in the corner to let it dry. Because a lot of times the paper will curl, so I like to just put a little weight on it so it doesn't curl. So I am trying something new with this clear gesso. I just wanted to put a layer on top of these papers so that when I do put some paint on top of the gesso when it's dry, then it won't like buckle the papers and it will kind of give more of a sturdy substrate. So it does kind of fade the colors of the papers, which I'm fine with because I want to push them into the background a little bit anyway. But it does give a little more tooth to the actual paper, and it gives a little more weight to it as well. So just letting it dry again. Um, and then I did start adding a color, but my video didn't work. So I'm just showing you all the different colors that I used. This one was a combination of the cadmium orange and some light pink. And I'm just kind of putting some colors down and not really thinking too much about it. There are a lot of different colors on this one, so I felt a little overwhelmed with where I was going at this point because it just kind of felt a little scattered, I guess. But again, just trusting the process to enjoy putting the paint on the paper and not really worrying too much about it. So I do love applying paint with a palette knife because it gives a little bit more of an angular feel, maybe some more straight lines, but messy. So it's kind of fun to experiment applying paints with different tools just to keep everything fresh and new. So I am softening some of the lines in here. I felt like it was a little heavy-handed with the yellowish green, and just adding a little water to kind of create those drips that I love. And it kind of blends it all together. So at this point, I can see some dominant colors coming forward. And I wanted to experiment a little more with my jelly plate. I wanted to use this in a different way. Usually I just make my prints on it and then put them on my pieces, but I wanted to actually print on my mixed media piece from the jelly plate. So just using some bubble wrap to create a design, a little pattern. And then I'm using some turquoise to kind of get a different color. This was a little bit of a leap because I already had quite a few colors going on. So I went back and forth with this while I was painting. Sometimes I liked how it looked, other times I didn't. So it's interesting how it adds just that little texture from the bubble wrap. Such an easy thing to get from any packages you may have. So again, during this process, I'm just playing. I'm not really trying too hard with the design or what's going to happen in the end. Because for me, the process is really the fun part. So there is a print on some deli paper that I often use, and then I just wanted to see how it would look on the actual paper. So you can kind of see it up there. It's like a faint color, turquoise. And then you can see here I was kind of not sure if I loved it, so I'm just taking it off a little bit. That's part of the fun for me, just kind of putting it down, then taking it off, putting it down, just playing. Now this is a fine liner um, kind of receptacle. I'm not really sure. It's like a bottle. It has a fine liner tip. So I just added some titanium white and a little water, and you can kind of draw with it like you would with a marker, like a paint pen. But I find it gives like a little more paint and it also is very thin. So I like using it. So at this point, I just really could not get on board with that corner. I don't love that kind of cranberry color, so I wanted to cover it up. Just kept standing out to me and I just couldn't get over it. So I was trying to blend some like peachy, pinky, and I had this jelly print and I was like, oh, that's perfect. Because it kind of blended the black and the pink together. So this is something I printed out, and it's a bird, but it has like some kind of architectural drawings behind it or just lines. Maybe they're directional lines, but I did spray it with a fixative because I wanted to see if that would make a difference when I was using the glue on top of it. It did help a little bit, but it didn't keep it completely from kind of bleeding. So just something to think about if you do some inkjet printing on the deli paper, which I'll put up a video right here to show you how to do that. You do have to kind of fix it or let it dry for a while just to make sure it's set. And even then, when you use glue on it, it can run a little bit. So you just have to kind of play around with it. So at this point in the process, I'm just kind of adding marks and trying to blend in some of the spaces so that it doesn't feel like separate areas of the mixed media piece. I also wanted to create a little bit more of an area where the eye could rest because it was getting a little busy and I didn't want everything to be covered in patterns and colors and just felt a little overwhelming. So just trying to create a little bit of a separation for the main focus, which is the bird, and just creating some little barrier with some dots. And then I wanted to push some of these pink dots into the background so it wasn't quite so dominant on the piece, because right now it looks like four separate areas. So I'm just trying to blend it a little more together and give it a little bit more of a cohesive feel. And you may feel differently about it. Everyone has different feelings about their own artwork and how it looks and what I may like, you may not like. So that's the fun part of this, just kind of playing around, see what I like. And I generally just go with that. I know there's a lot of trends that you can follow, but I always just try to follow what I enjoy looking at and then just hope others like it too. So just pushing a little of the black into the background, softening it up a little bit. And then this is a little thing I wanted to try on the jelly plate just to add a little of that green to the corner because it was just kind of a blob of color. I thought maybe that would help kind of bringing a little of the green into there, which it did. I feel like it kind of worked because you kind of see that green threaded throughout, so it feels a little more cohesive. And then just adding some marks. This is one of the favorite parts for me towards the end when I add marks and things that I enjoy looking at and just kind of cool symbols that may correlate to the piece. And I feel like I could tinker at the end forever and overwork it. So that's something that I try to keep track of that, not do that so much. But here are all the details up close and personal. You can kind of see how everything came out. A lot of layers, a lot of nice, pretty colors, and just fun little marks. I called this one Forever. And I used some pencil on the bottom there to outline some of that design. And the bird was really interesting looking. So I hope you enjoyed this today. Thank you so much for following along. I really appreciate you being here. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this so you can see more videos from me, and I hope to see you again soon.